Hey, it's Paul Cantor. I hope you're doing well. Just want to kind of go through with you some of the myths and statistics and media coverage that we're hearing on the housing market. Are we going into a housing bubble or not? What's the real story? And what I heard recently is a description. It's the healthiest screwed up market I've ever seen. And that's describing the housing market. So when we look at things pre-COVID, we were in a, probably a slightly short demand, super healthy market, maybe a little seller side, close to the Goldilocks, but a little bit leaning towards the seller. Pandemic, we had a lot of stimulus, economic growth, not to mention demographics, kind of really accelerated things, is putting us where we are today, where we've seen 20% annual appreciation. And then now we throw that in with mortgage rates. And yes, it has probably pulled some of the demand down because of the rising rates affecting affordability, whether it's to rent or own. So the combination of rising rates and rising prices has probably slowed demand some, but there's so much demand out there, still a seller's market, still going to continue to see some sort of appreciation and movement upwards. So let's kind of take a look at the statistics and some of the numbers of where we're at. So I'm going to go ahead and share some slides. So just give me a moment here. And we're going to, start off with, the first rule of economics. We always hear supply and demand. If you have lots of demand, little supply, prices go up. If you have a ton of supply and not much demand, prices will go down. And this is sort of what happened in 2008, where we had a lot of vacancy rate, we had a lot of inventory, and lending practices got loosey-goosey to move that inventory. So right now, we're at a different situation, a different place. So we're going to talk about household formations. So household formation, what is that? If somebody's moving from one house to another house, they're not creating a new household. However, when little Johnny moves out of mom and dad's basement after having graduated school 2 or 3 years ago and goes and rents an apartment, that is a new household. That is creating occupancy of a household that did a house dwelling, whether it's rental or purchase, that was not occupied before. It also could mean somebody who is a couple that is divorcing and separating, where we're converting one dwelling to two because one's moving out. So we've got a kind of showing here of just household formations. Yeah, we saw a little bit of jobbing just due to COVID, the ups and downs. But when we look, we are the red line now, and we are over what the average has been. So we are forming more houses at a steady pace. The demographics are there for this to continue for a while. So, okay, we've talked about the demand side. Let's kind of look at the supply side. So when we look at housing starts, and this is when somebody decides to cut a blade of grass on a building lot to get ready to build a house, that is considered a housing start. So we've got 1.7 million of those annually nationwide. And about 100,000 houses are pulled out of stock every year, whether it's through natural disaster, road construction, abandonment, so forth. So we're going to net 1.6 million new dwellings per year. So that looks pretty good. Now let's look at the demand side we were talking about. So we've got 1.4 million household formations. So hey, that on the side of things looks great. We've got 200,000 excess houses. We're short a few million houses to start with right now. So we'll catch up with that pretty quickly. But let's go look at the real, true numbers. We want to look at houses completed. Now, just getting a building permit or knocking down a blade of grass is not completing a house. And hey, we know the builders are having supply issues, whether it's getting chips to make appliances or windows on back order, siding, garage doors, all sorts of things are out there holding up construction. We have the 100,000 delayed, destroyed houses or pulled out of the market. Gives us a new supply of 1.2 million. Well, we have household formations of 1.4 million. So now we have a few million short houses. We're increasing that by 200,000 units per year. This is what the supply side. We have a supply side issue. We also have very strong demand. So that is creating price inflation for housing. We are record low housing inventories. Now, yes, the media said inventory has grown. It has. It is very cyclical. If you look every spring, we see inventory go up. We've just seen a little spurt of additional inventory here locally as well. But right now we have just a little bit over 1 million houses on the market. Back in 2018, we had 2 million houses on the market. But again, if you look at the annual cycles of these things, it's going down. We have so much pent-up demand. It has gotten a little easier to find a house, but we're still seeing multiple offers. We're still seeing folks offering 6 figures over asking price, 40% more in some cases over list price to get a house because of the competitiveness nature of the market. Now, yes, everything is local, and that is neighborhood specific local, not city-wise local. In our markets, we don't have, well, we all have shortage of inventory. So let's look at the existing inventory, where it is. You see inventory growth. So existing inventory, we've got, as I showed you, just over 1 million houses in inventory. Well, guess what? Housing inventory includes those pending sales. So of that 1 million, 600,000 are already under contract. Average days on market, I believe in the richer market, is probably hovering about a week or so. Some cases less than that. So in reality, we only have nationally 400,000 houses up for sale. That is a far cry from the 1 million number, and a far cry from the demand, the shortage of a few million houses. So as we look at things back in 2016, 75% inventory was available for sale. Only 25% of the inventory was under contract. So now at that point in time, we had 1.55 million houses available. Right now, we only have about 400 or 409,000 houses, or 40% of the inventory. So, that's dropping inventory. As you can see, it's a pretty, level, drop of inventory. Some of this has to do with the builders not keeping up with demand after the Great Recession, the housing bust. They stopped putting their inventory in. So again, shortage of inventory. We're close to the lowest, but not quite the lowest, as you can see, at the beginning of this year, where we only had 33,000 homes available. So we are all-time vacancy rate. So let's think about this. If a house is vacant and not producing any income, whether someone's renting it or you're living in it, you're willing to take a loss on that and sell at a lower price. Well, take a look back, several years, 06, 08, we had a very strong high vacancy rate. Right now, we're less than 1% of vacancies, and that includes houses that are going through renovation and so forth. So we don't have that, excess inventory where people, want to get off the balance sheets. So this is another reason why we're seeing home prices remain strong and continuing to grow. So that is, the story, the real deal, the numbers. These are numbers. Some people say statistics lie, but the actual numbers show that we're continuing to have a supply side issue for housing. And while we don't predict, and most economists don't predict, that we will continue to see 20% annual appreciation, we should continue to see values going up. So it is a good time to buy. So if you're thinking about buying, whether it's a new household or whether it's moving, give us a call. If you're worried about what happens because I can't find a house, we've got some solutions for you there as well if your house sells. Anyway, hopefully you got something out of this. Have a great one. Thanks. Bye-bye.